call-in users?
Genevieve Trigg from Barclay Damon.
She's number 5.
Genevieve, hi.
Hi,
Karen
how are
Hawkins from Fogel and Brown.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your name?
Hawkins from Fogel and Brown.
And who else do I have?
you? Paige Byer from Barclay Damon.
Number 6. And then do I have one more call-in user?
Genevieve Trigg?
Yep,
No, we're missing one.
I think we have,
The one that's blank,
yeah,
is it identified in your list?
no.
I love this virtual stuff.
If they're blank, does that mean somebody's there?
Well,
Well,
we
it
don't
should,
know.
but they're not in the attending list.
Can't you click on them and kick
There's
them
nothing
out?
there to click on, that's what I was
Yeah, kick them out.
I can kick
If they come back,
If they come back, we'll know they were rented. It could be somebody calling about a car warranty.
we're gonna have to come again. Thank God Medicare enrollment's over.
Well, there's still a blank spot.
That's right.
And I'm sorry, do I have one more call-in user? I have Genevieve, I
got a break
have,
when elections were done.
Somebody from Barclay Damon. Who was it from Barclay Damon? Your name again?
Paige Byer.
And then who was it from Fogel Brown?
Mute.
Fogel Brown,
Who wanted it?
Kick him out.
Just kick them out.
So you can bring Linda and Laura back
they're not on.
in. They're not in?
Because I told him somebody to come back in.
Okay. So, we're gonna go ahead with our annual meeting. We have minutes from the last meeting.
I'll move the minutes from the annual meeting.
Is there a second? Second from Mary Faith. Discussion? None? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have our annual report of the corporation.
Which one are you doing the annual meeting first?
I got the annual meeting.
So you
Are you
have,
giving the annual
you
report,
have an
Sean?
annual report in your folder?
I don't have one.
I'm sure I do. Yeah, we didn't get that.
We
We
didn't
didn't
get
get
it.
that.
We didn't get that.
We were handing it out, okay? Sean's got an annual report. This should just be, this should be on the web, or somebody.
Yeah, no. Did you send? Yeah, send me the
We're well organized today.
We have to vote to accept
We're a
it.
week ahead.
Two participants.
We have to
Okay,
vote
who
to
just-
accept this.
No,
Okay,
Just
can you
report
tell me
to
who
us.
just joined the call?
This
Yeah,
is Laura.
Karen Hawkins from from Fogel and Brown.
Thank you, Carrie.
I
Karen.
was cut off.
Okay.
Apologize, we were having some issues here, but you're good to
She's
go
number-
now.
Is she number 9?
She's number 9.
Okay.
And then who else is our call-in user? Is it Linda?
Or?
Did you hear it? This is Laura.
Hi, Laura.
okay, hi Laura.
Hi. Hello.
So are we loading the annual report?
Yep.
Everybody can see it? Okay. Everybody have a chance to look at the annual report? Any questions of Sean? If none, we'll receive the report. Thank you, Shauna, for producing it for us. All right, moving on to,
Promise I'll read it later.
to the nomination of officers of the corporation. So,
You do it?
so I've been asked to make a nomination to continue those officers that were previously approved and operated for last year without change.
Hey, Mayor.
Hey, guys. Hey.
So is there anybody objecting to that?
I will move that.
Steve moves it, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mike. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Ferris. Carried.
The document on there needs to be changed to reflect the audit and finance committee is Steve, Kirk, and myself, not Mike, Ferris, Steve, and myself.
Did you hear that?
Shawnee,
It's changed.
I
It's
saw it.
It's been
It's
updated.
been updated.
Not what you sent us.
I don't know what you said.
No, it was updated.
No, it's
Oh,
So
updated.
if you-
It is changed.
All right,
Okay.
with that change.
Sorry, guys.
No, you're, it's good.
I'm sorry, for the minutes, what was the change?
Audit committee,
Committee report, do we have any
And the
committee?
finance committee is Kirk, Mary, Faith, and Steve.
Very important committee.
That's why they get the extra money.
We think so.
You doubled the salary, then when you changed it, they made that change. Okay, committee reports, do we have any committee reports?
You didn't do number 5 there, Dave. Ratify actions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you, Steve.
I'll move the ratification
Ratification and confirmation of
of
our
actions
actions.
during the year.
Mike moves it, is there a second?
Second.
Second
I'll
from Kirk?
second it.
I think Kirk beat you, Ferris. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Committee reports. Anybody want to make a committee report? Guess not.
so audit will be meeting, we'll be calling the audit committee next
Is
month.
that what you reported?
Well, I'm letting you know,
Okay. But we don't have any actual reports
we don't have
as
it.
of, at this meeting. Okay, so there's no committee reports as of this meeting. But it will be meetings. Any old business? Any old business? Any new business?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn the annual meeting, or do you want to just move into the regular agency
We'll
meeting?
adjourn the annual meeting.
Okay? I don't know that we technically need to do that, but we will. Okay. Been moved, and anybody seconded it?
I did.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Do we want to skip to the annual meeting of the LDC? Or do you want to just jump into the agency meeting?
Whatever you want to do. As long as we keep gonna go fast.
All right, so let's do the agency meeting. Get that out of the way. Some people may not want to stick around for the LDC. Okay, so we have minutes of our last IDA meeting on November 18th. Everybody's had a chance to review them. Do we have any suggested changes before a motion to approve?
It's no big deal, but the top of the second page, it's J Pepinella, not P Pepinella.
Great. Any other changes? Typo?
I'll move them with that.
Move from Mike, is there a second? Second from Mary Kay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, thanks, Ferris. Approved. Is Maureen on? Maureen is on.
I'm here.
Okay, so it's your turn.
Okay. So these are your November financials. Your
I'm sorry, Maureen, can I ask who's the latest caller? No. Who just called in?
Linda.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Linda. Okay, Maureen.
Okay, I'm sorry. So your cash is up about 177,000 from last year. So your balance is about 857,000. Just to update you on the restricted cash, the Hartford pilot, all payments have now been received, and the distribution to the jurisdictions. Actually, the checks were cut today, and they're ready to be signed by Dave today as well. All of the dollars that have been received related to the Hampton Hartford pilots for 2022 have been received and now dispersed. So you'll see that in your December financials as well. A new item that is reflected here now on your balance sheet under your current assets is the accounts receivable, the pilot billing. So I billed Wolfspeed on December 1st. Well, I had billed Wolfspeed on, I think, November 28th for the fourth quarterly payment. And so it does show up on your balance sheet as a receivable. But so that we're not overstating our assets, there is a contra account booked against that. It's basically a liability account that's moved up into your assets so that you have a better picture of, you know, your actual assets, just like we did with the Hartford Hampton Pilot Holdings. It's just a little bit different reflected here because it's not in cash. So it's not in restricted cash. It's actually just in a receivable right now. So as of November 30th, it was a receivable, and it does have a liability against it. Today, those funds were actually received. So Dave also has those checks to sign as well, so that we can get those distributed to the jurisdictions according to the pilot. And so that really did turn around in less than 10 days. Wolfspeed paid it. So also there.
Maureen, did we
Yeah.
get a verification from the town of New Hartford, or the New Hartford people as to the debt service payments on that? And we had a
So-
confirmation of what they are and whether they've been taken care of or will be?
Yeah, Laura Roberto can speak to that if she'd like now, or we can go back to it. But Laura did send some letters. She circulated them, I believe, today, and they were signed off by the IDA, by Shauna, so that she can then send it over to the towns. I don't believe that the actual accounting for the debt service has been received yet, but those letters have been generated, and that's in process.
So when we get it, if in fact they've received more money under the pilot than the debt service requires, would have to come back to us and be reallocated out back to the taxing jurisdictions?
Yeah, that was our discussion yesterday. It is, we do have a worksheet that's already set up that has all of the tax rates in each year. So if there were overpayments in each year, we'll be able to disperse those excess payments accordingly for each year for those tax rates. So Laura and I did have a discussion about it, and that was our plan, yeah.
So is the Hampton, which is next door, on a separate PIF?
Yes.
What's the status of that PIF?
That PIF has been completed.
And we've gotten from the town that the debt service is paid on that one?
No,
We have not gotten it.
so a letter is.
They're asking
We're not in the last year of the payment. We
That
always
one
lag.
terminates in March.
Yeah,
Correct.
they're asking to be terminated now.
Is that
Can
the
I-
one they're,
can
one
I
of
jump
them is
in?
actually,
Let Laura,
Yeah.
Laura, go
Okay,
ahead.
thanks. Yes, so we worked with Maureen and Shauna on preparing letters to the town addressing, separate letters addressing each PIF. The Hampton, that pilot is terminating at the end of this month. We determined that the company has fulfilled all of its obligations. Now we're asking the town to certify its debt service so Maureen can take the next step and prepare the final accounting for both. But the answer from the town did not impact the obligations of the LT group having made its payments.
Say that again?
The
Laura, I
LT
didn't-
group
I
has
didn't- Go ahead.
So Laura, is what you're saying that the LT group has made all the payments they're required to? And
That's
so
correct.
they're off the hook as of the end of the
That's
month?
They would be automatically
correct.
off the hook, and they've asked for
An
an
early hook
an
removal.
early termination of that, so they can, I
Yes.
think it's for sale, I think
Yes.
they want to complete a sale.
For your end.
That's it.
The other one is terminating automatically in March, is that right, Laura?
There is one more year, this year coming up with the 2023 tax status date is
Because
1 year
remember,
of
we had to
payment.
hold Indium's payment the same as the Hartford's
That's right.
payment for the first year, and then it drops
That's right.
down. So we get the full
That's
PIF.
right.
We're lagging.
So,
Even though it ends, we're still holding everything an extra year there.
I hate
right.
this.
So the request relating to that facility is we're actually getting ahead of that in the hope that over this coming up tax year, Maureen can work with the taxing jurisdictions to reconcile that accounting so it's ready to terminate and close the fund at the end of the year after the last allocation.
And an additional little side note that Laura told me yesterday is Utica has changed its taxable status date for taxes from the end of July now to the end of March.
End of February?
End of March. End of March, isn't it, Laura?
March 1st.
March 1st.
March 1st, to be
March 1.
consistent with,
It matches
Yeah.
the town's taxable status dates. But before that, Utica and Rome had the same taxable status dates at the end of July. So, and that, I didn't even know about until yesterday, so. That makes a big change on how our pilots get recorded and filed, and the leases get filed, and all that stuff, so.
Can I ask who caller user number 12 is?
Do you know who?
Hi, my name is Alexis Menor. I'm a reporter for the Daily Sentinel in Utica. I think I may have been booted out. I had issues with my mic being on mute, so sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's okay, thank you.
Okay, Maureen, are you still talking?
Sure.
So I had a question on the bail, Maureen, on the bail. Who's the party that still owes us $500 all year for the annual fee?
Thank you, Mike.
That would be Lithium Motors.
So,
After we agreed not to claw them back?
Yeah, yeah.
Break that baby off.
I'm gonna get that money.
It's not worth the time.
Mike's gonna get all the money.
Send them a letter
We did.
and tell them that this is also clawback land they're heading in.
Okay.
They better make the payment.
yeah, because if they default under the agreement, then they jump back into the.
We'll go back
clawback.
in and claw back. Okay.
Mike,
We're a little
Yeah.
soft around here.
it came to me, and I won't use the dollar amount or tell you who over this public meeting, but they were prepared to give us a lot more money at that last meeting than they gave us and that we asked for.
Well, whatever it is, we did, so we may have a second opportunity, so we'll see. Anything else, Maureen?
I just did want to let you know that we did close on fiber instrument sales. That closing fee was around 20, I believe it was around 20,000. So your admin fees today are about 280,000. We did estimate that we would close on a couple more projects in 2022. I can get an update from Laura. But I know McCreath Beverages was on there, and solar generation projects is on there as well. But we are, over our annual budget and in revenues now with the closing of the fiber instrument sales. And lastly, I wanted to just let you know that I did add an additional note related to some items that you aren't going to see on your balance sheet or running through the income statement. So I'll just make sure I do that, monthly to keep you up to date on the pilots that are being administered through the IDA. A quick update on the Sovina pilot. We had some confusion with the Rome City School District. I had reached out to them a few times, asking them to send us the Sovina tax bill. She got back to me last week. She did not realize that she had overlooked it. So I just received it today. So I have to turn around and send that over to Sovina, and then Sovina will have 30 days to pay it. They're really good about making their payments. So Hopefully, I'm hoping it comes in before the end of the year so that we can, receive the money and then disperse it accordingly. But I'll keep you up to date on that as well.
I hate doing something.
Yeah, in Rome, the school district billing is done by the city. I don't know, I didn't realize that the school district was billing pilots separately, are they? Or paying?
School districts does their own pilots.
Yeah, they do their own pilots. We
Do their own
don't have
pilot?
anything to do with that.
Interest rates are up. We probably need to look at investing between the LDC and the IDA, we've got about $1.3 million.
She's on it.
I'm on that as well. Berkshire has a CD out there for, I believe it was for 4% for 13 months. So I've reached out to a couple other banks. I'm just working on making sure I'm reaching out to banks and credit unions to be sure that I'm looking at what the best rates and offers that are out there, and I'm working on getting all of that.
Yeah, you're not gonna do much better than that. That's a great deal. You ought to take that.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
How many months, Maureen, was that?
13. Somebody let me know the other day, AmeriCU had a 4.85, I believe. They said that one wasn't 18, but I've got to double check on that.
Are you trying to hold to the 250s or not?
Yeah.
For bank,
Yeah.
if you can.
Yeah, and we can also work on laddering them. We did that a couple years ago, and I think it worked out very well.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, great.
So I can
Good.
come back. I can maybe convene with the finance committee once I pull everything together.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen.
Anybody else have any questions? If not, thanks, Maureen. Okay.
173.
Somebody
Got a
got
sweater
a
on, too.
commitment on a
Really
mortgage
warm.
payment for 12.5%.
A mortgage?
Yep.
Well, there's probably a story behind that.
12.5%.
They're gonna take it, yep.
Well, they probably got
Credit
some
issues.
news.
I mean, they're credit
Yeah,
issues
it's
and
good,
stuff,
yeah.
but still,
There's a
that's,
story behind it every time.
15 3/4.
I know. I mean, so people don't understand that in the 70s, 12, 14% mortgages were not uncommon.
Oh, we thought we were robbing the bank. Yeah.
Money markets are paying over 14%.
Higher than that.
Were they
Yeah.
paying that much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 18 at one.
Well, you could buy US Treasuries, I think, for 12%.
I got a CD in Marine Midland for 2.5 years at 19%.
Well,
Prime is over 21.
Yeah, and you could get 20 in a money market.
that's shocking. I can't remember that. I didn't have that kind of money.
Good old days of Paul Volcker.
What?
The good old days of Paul Volcker.
Yeah.
Right.
If you weren't borrowing money, you're doing pretty well.
Borrowed on life insurance.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to number 4 on the agenda. Considering a resolution approving the modification of Edge project-related debt, Wolf Speed facility, and authorizing the form and execution of related documents, subject to council review. This has to do with finalizing the permanency of the debt previously authorized by the agency for infrastructure improvements under the Marcy Nano pilot agreement. Moved by Steve, is there a second?
Did Mark?
I'll second it.
Mark did review
Mark,
that.
the resolution?
Yep.
Mark prepared it,
Mark prepared the resolution?
prepared the resolution.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he did, because he sent it to me first, before he
No.
sent it to anybody.
The resolution, not.
Oh, not the resolution, no.
You're not,
the-
yeah. I don't
Mark
think-
did prepare that.
No. All right, who seconded that? Did you second?
I did.
All right, thanks, first. Any discussion? If none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried. Okay, number 5, consider a resolution authorizing the early termination of the LT Group LLC Hampton Inn facility. Lease term expires the end of this month. and the company has submitted a certification that its obligations under the leaseback agreement have been satisfied, and I think as Maureen just reported, she agrees that they have been satisfied. Laura has?
No.
And so we're terminating it a little early.
So I'll move the termination.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Mary Faith. Mike and Mary Faith. Discussion?
Surprised you moved it. Surprised you moved it.
If not,
You voted against it originally.
I know. No, I voted against.
all in
sales-
favor of
sales
the
Me
motion?
too. Yeah, I know.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Opposed?
I don't.
Carried.
How
All
can it
right.
be 10 years?
Number 6, consider a supplemental resolution. We're not having any more afternoon meetings.
Larry Adler still doesn't talk.
Consider,
Yeah.
consider a
I-
sup,
I had calls from several Larry Adler fans about that.
consider a supplemental resolution relating to the Central Utica Building LLC facility, accepting an amendment to the application for financial assistance that was given to the agency and authorizing an increase in the value of the mortgage recording tax exemption from $128,138 to $191,250, a difference of $63,112. I'm advised that a public hearing is not required because it's not an increase of over $100,000 of benefit.
I'll move it.
Moved by Mike, is there a second? I'll
Second.
second it, or I'll second it. Discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Carried. Okay, moving on to a more controversial issue. The OCIDA Edge 2023 contract.
I had the best recommendation all year, that we make this a one-pager that renews every year for 5 years,
That's
so
a
I
good
never have
idea.
to bring this back
With-
to you.
With whatever changes need to be made.
There you go.
in the year.
I don't know why we don't do that, just and have an amendment that changes the price.
And the date.
Instead of paying 3 different attorneys to review the change of the year.
Paying those damn attorneys, I'm telling you.
First time I see it is when we get it, so I don't know if there's any input at all that comes before that, but I agree.
Oh, there is.
Let's direct our executive director in the future to do an amendment to the agreement unless there are major changes in the agreement. Did we move it?
No,
No.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll move it.
Okay, Mary Faye seconds it. Discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 8, the OCIDA Edge 2023 supplemental contract is on the agenda. You've all seen a copy of it. It's another one that presumably could also be adopted with an amendment and possibly a single amendment for both of them if we're going to continue the supplemental. Give a motion to approve that supplemental contract.
Second.
Moved from Steve. Is there a second?
Kirk moved it, I said.
Moves, all right, okay.
Let's keep the train moving.
Can't do all of it. Any discussion? Just so the record reflects, the supplemental agreement is to assist Edge in performing its services to us for special, because of the workload that's been generated from recent developments, to assist them in retaining human resources to make sure that we get done what has to be done.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Without any abstentions? Carried.
So I have a curiosity question on that. So the county gives an annual
They
budgeted.
increased it this year.
The LDC does, and so does the IDA. Does Herkimer County contribute directly?
They contribute towards specific projects,
But they don't have any.
and we don't
They
have
don't,
staff
they don't have
services
an
agreement with
agreement
them.
with them.
Goal is to get there.
Sorry, what?
Goal is to get there.
They will participate in specific projects. But there's no annual appropriation. Like
So how do you determine what the fee is that they charge, or they just determine it?
well, there's never really a fee. I mean, we did the we did a project with them on their Skylar Business Park edition. We pretty much did most of the planning on that. They provided some funding against that. They didn't necessarily provide funding to cover our costs.
So, so they're only contributed things on the other side of the.
They'll participate in some advertising stuff, some sponsorship of events, like when we had site selectors here, they did kick in money for that, but there's no general appropriation. We did put them on our board. We actually put their executive director on our executive committee.
The executive director of the IDA?
Of the Herkimer County IDA, yeah. Our incoming chairman of the Edge Board actually lives in Herkimer County. His business is in Herkimer County.
Do they pay their normal contribution fee to Edge?
Yes, yeah.
Good.
The goal is to get there.
Yeah. No, I mean, the executive director of the IDA of Herkimer comments on that Skylar that you guys gave him a lot of help, so.
He's been pretty good to deal with.
Yeah.
There's a good partnership there. Actually, it's a pretty good partnership with Jim Bono.
That you won't reach as well.
No, there's a lot of people who don't pick up lunch tabs that we deal with. Did I say that for the public?
Yeah, you did, so
you
don't
did.
stop right there. Thank you. Okay, keep going,
No
Dave.
names. Okay, anything else to come before the IDA?
Yes, this is Genevieve Trey with Barclay Damon.
Yeah.
And I have a request to extend the closing for the SG Oneida project.
I have a
Yes, so
question on
that is on yours, so you asked if I had something else. Yes, I have some old business, and you do have a letter request from SG Solar. Their project was induced last December, and it is in your packet. We did put a clause in that once projects were induced, they had 12 months to
Proceed.
and that's,
So was SG Oneida PV LLC induced under our old policy?
correct.
Yes.
Well, you know, if they're gonna look to start over, I think it should come under the new policy.
We're not looking to start over. Had,
Well, you got till December 31st to close it. I mean, we put a moratorium on these for a reason, because things change. So,
if I could speak, I'd like to explain why there's been a delay. It's really out of our control.
It probably is. We don't disagree with you on that. But the inducement resolution is pretty clear on its obligations, and that one, as I recall, I gotta remember that we've been grandfathered in under our old policy because of a request to do that. And we presumed we did that so that things would proceed normally and close, and apparently that hasn't happened. So the purpose for the grandfathering of the earlier inducement has not been accomplished, so it would make some sense anyway, maybe members want to comment on that it would be, the inducement would be continued, but only on the new policy.
that's what I think.
So that's not what was agreed to. And in the inducement agreement, there is the provision, section 4.04, that gives us the ability to make this request. And, there was nothing in there about if we made that request that we would have to go under the old policy. I think, the reason for the delay was
You mean under the new policy?
were not received. We had to go through a force majeure event with the panel provider, and so we do plan to start construction in Q1 and close with the FDA at that time. So it's really just
do not
a
have
matter of.
acceptable insurance either.
So, I mean, we could just let it go. It'll end on December 31st, and they can reapply under the new policy if they want to do that.
What's the,
I would encourage you not to do that. I think that's going to be problematic, and maybe your counsel can weigh in here, but that was not what was agreed to. We have this extension request. We have a reasonable request, and we're a matter of a few weeks, and we've been making due diligence and talking with Mark and Shauna all along about the insurance. I can't explain the insurance because I know we've closed other deals with you, and I've provided the insurance companies that have done that to my client, but they have been working on that.
So how many solar projects does the parent that's sponsoring SJ Oneida PV have nationally?
They are a smaller company, and this is only going to be their second, as far as I'm aware, in New York.
No, nationally.
Nationally, I think they're just a New York-based company, from my understanding.
talking about the parent company. All of these are done on local LLCs or local corporations. But basically, it's operated by, the larger ones by a broader based parent, which controls these individual ones individually through separate structures.
And that parent here is Solar Generation, and they are also local. They are based out of Kingston, New York, and they are not a national company.
Okay.
Can we get some clarification, Dave? Dave,
Yep.
can we get some clarification from either Linda or Laura on her point? I think she said 4.04 section of that original.
Yeah,
We-
Laura,
we-
you get that document?
Go ahead, Linda.
Yeah, Laura, can you pull that up? I don't have the document in front of me.
What she read, I'll just jump, and you can look it up, but what she read was that the agreement says that the applicant can submit an application to extend. There's no commitment on the IDA's part to grant that application.
Okay.
Or clawback agreement, that we don't have to actually do it. It just permits the applicant to make the request. And I assume that's what they've done, is all they've done is made the request. And we're analyzing and discussing that request, and there's some indication that the request may not be granted. I guess that's the legal side as I see it. I don't know, Linda or Laura, can you jump in on that?
I have to look at 404, and I don't have it in front of me here.
Dave, is there any provision associated with, obviously, issues such as supply chain? Did we put anything in there at all beyond the 12 months?
Well, you know what, this, everyone uses the
Well,
supply
I know,
chain
I
issue
understand
excuse.
Steve. I just
I'm
thought
not,
maybe something in there.
There's, I mean, it's been a year.
All right, I understand.
Yeah, generally, if it doesn't close within a year, I mean, you can put in an extension. The IDA is not required to give an extension.
Did you hear all that?
Yeah, you can put in a request for an extension, but the IDA is not required to
Yeah,
give it.
that's
What you said.
yeah. So I get what council's saying, but the agency still has the discretion to grant or not, and I'm hearing members say that there's not a real interest in granting an extension.
What's the difference in the dollars?
Or we should get some
The,
consideration for it.
The grandfathered amount, I think, was what,
They're
5,500?
up in that 55, yeah.
5,500,
How
the
many
new one.
How many megawatt is this?
4.5, 4.75.
Just under 5, I think.
It's $9,000 a year in real estate tax into the community. What town school district is this in?
Trenton, I believe. It's the town
What?
of Trenton. Town of Trenton.
Trenton, Arvell area.
Yeah.
Holland Patton School System.
Possibly. Yeah.
They could use it.
It'd be Marcy or Whitesboro or Whitesboro.
Split it.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Kurt, your question, Kurt.
I've got
Sure.
Anything-
404
Anything you
in
want.
front of me now, and I've read it, so I restate my
Think so.
opinion that there's nothing that obligates
We have
the
discretion
agency.
to grant
Company
ex-
certainly can put in
However,
an extension request.
Here's what.
I just threw out a split the difference. approve an
Linda,
extension.
Linda, would you repeat that, please? They're talking there and I'm not getting all of what.
What's the new cost?
Yes, I now have section 404 in front of me. I just read it.
75,000.
And I reiterate my statement that there is no obligation on the part of the IDA to grant the extension. They've got the right to request it, but I don't see anything in 404 that requires the agency to extend. So
Okay, that confirms what Dave just said. Right.
So let's just say, talk about this.
Let me ask this question. Let me ask this question, Dave.
Yep.
If they refile, does that go up to 5,500? Go up? Is that what is
10,000.
Thank you.
So my view is, maybe Linda can correct me on this, taking into account equitable issues, we could consider possibly splitting the difference between 5,500 and 10,000 on this one project in connection with the grant of an extension as a compromise of the fact that apparently there were some issues they had that they didn't control, and we still have the discretion to require them to refile or go up. So I'm just throwing that out as a possibility. Linda, would that be okay to do?
yeah, I think, how many of these do we have that are still hanging out there under the old policy?
That haven't closed.
That haven't closed. Do we have any?
This might be one other.
I mean, I think one other. What is it, Laura?
The SSC Kirkland project has also not closed, and that is also nearing the end of its inducement.
Same thing with that?
How long, Dave, is we're consistent? I think the category of this project being approved under the old program, I think you've got the discretion to split it if that's what you want, rather than require it to be under the new program. So long as we treat anybody in that category, and I guess there are two, Laura, we treat them the same. If another extension is requested.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that.
I need to object, and I'm sorry. I just realized that this. I was told that December 17th was the inducement, but there wasn't even a public hearing on this until January 2022, and so the final inducement would have been granted likely in February. I'll have to verify that. So I also want to understand, why would the inducement not run from the final inducement?
Why are you asking for an extension then today if you got till February?
Because I was told December 17th by IDA council. So that's why we submitted that.
But we induced it in December. We had public hearing.
All right, so we issued the inducement in December, which, because of the size of the benefit, we had to have a public hearing before we could finally approve the project, which is what you're talking about. But the inducement, which is the beginning of the process, is the part that triggers the time limits. Is that right, Linda and Laura?
Yes, it's 1 year from the inducement.
Right.
I'm going to make a motion that we allow SG Oneida PV LLC an extension to close before March 31st, 2023. But if the closing takes place after January 1st of 23, that there be adjusted, that the per megawatt real estate tax pilot be set at $7,500 per megawatt instead of $5,500.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second from Kirk. Discussion. Linda suggested that since we have one other one that's grandfathered in, we'll deal with that when it comes in.
Yep.
All right, so any other discussion on the motion?
I'd just like to clarify that. Mike, if they do it before January 1st, it's the 5,500. After January 1st, 75. Is that correct?
Yes.
Until March. They need to close by March.
Till March.
Yes, thank you.
Okay? We ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried. Okay. Anything else that's old business that Shauna needs to bring up? We covered all the old business? And maybe anything else to come before the agency before a motion to adjourn?
What about this thing for NBHS with
It's
the?
That's the local development
That's
corporation.
right, okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Very
Have a
true,
motion to
thank you.
adjourn. Mike moves, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Ferris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jan?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, the meeting is over at 5:04. Okay.
So for the LDC.
So we'll open the LDC meeting.
Shauna, I just want to let you know, I have a call with Griffith Institute at 4, so I have to hop off in 4 minutes.
Okay. Well, you've given us the financials, though.
Not for the LDC.
Oh,
So why don't we let Maureen jump into the LDC?
you want to jump into, have we opened the meeting? I've opened the meeting, so you want to talk about the finances on the LDC?
Did we?
Is it okay, is this the annual meeting or is this the regular meeting?
We'll do the regular meeting, because that's
Okay.
where the finances are.
Okay.
I lost Kathy.
Your cash has
my
decreased
visual.
by about 250,000 over the last 12 months. That's mainly due to the decrease in your net assets. We haven't had any
go back.
bond closings this year, so there's been no revenue. The expenses are in line with the budget. We did have the one additional expense of $100,000, which was agreed by the LDC to enter into the agreement with MVCC for the funds for the college. For creating and administering the microelectronics laboratory. That was paid in September. You still are holding the $100,000 that were committed for the job growth initiative. That's segregated in fund balance as board restricted. And that's it.
Questions? Maureen? If not, we'll receive Maureen's report subject to audit. And if you want to go to your meeting, Maureen, you can.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Everyone have a Merry Christmas.
Merry
Okay.
Christmas. Thank you.
Okay, so, you want to do the annual meeting now?
Or you want to?
Want to finish the regular meeting?
Finish the LDC meeting.
The minutes you have,
I'll move the minutes.
moved by Mike, your second,
Second.
second from Steve.
Hey, Ferris, you eating a pickle and we got a fruit salad here. Two different combinations. You gonna mix them together?
I'm eating a sugar wafer.
Sugar, it look like a pickle.
If he has food, does he, and all the people he notifies?
He probably sent a bill.
No.
Did you bring enough for the public?
That he's gonna have for the public.
That's right, you got to offer it to
You
the
got off
public.
them food.
You got to offer it to the
The
public.
caterer is out there waiting. No one got a caterer.
Good answer.
I'm coming.
Please.
All right, is my motion to approve the minutes?
So we had it first and second.
Okay, do we already
Aye.
have that? I missed it.
Aye.
Did you get it?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
This meeting's going downhill fast.
All right. Everybody's seen the LDC contract with Edge?
I'll move it.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Steve, discussion? We're hopefully gonna do the same thing next year with amendment.
Right.
If there's no discussion, all in favor, say aye, or raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And the LDC Edge supplemental agreement has also been circulated. We have a motion to approve it. Moved by Mary Faith,
I'll
seconded by
second.
Barrett. Discussion? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
We'll probably deal with this in the regular meeting.
Yeah, we'll have a regular meeting then.
No,
No, this is the
we
regular-
are in the
we
regular.
are in the
We are in the
Oh,
regular.
yeah, okay, we'll deal with the NBHS. What if I can find mine, but you have yours out there, somebody, you have yours out there?
What do you need? They weren't asking for a specific
Yeah.
dollar amount, right?
It was 100,000.
They didn't say it.
I didn't see that.
They didn't, so,
Is this the 100,000 we talked about when we reduced their fee?
Yeah, no, we didn't
We didn't
reduce
come
the
up with,
fee.
we didn't come up with a specific
Yeah, we-
number.
Yeah, we
we,
did.
we did, we set aside 100, that's the 100,000 Maureen mentioned.
She has it
It's a
reserved.
separate
I thought it was more than that.
I thought
No.
it was
Our fee was 400.
400, we
We
divided
did
them all.
say that if there was an additional need, they could make a request and we might consider additional funds, but we set aside
I thought maybe that's what it
100,000.
was, okay.
She has it reserved, I think.
What?
She has it
She had
reserved.
reserved and segregated the cash. So I think they need to come back and ask for a specific amount and tell us what they're gonna use it for.
Okay.
Not just, we're gonna get a
Okay.
surgeon, but, say, we're gonna hire use this for the first year salary for a surgical teacher.
I want to know if you're okay having them come speak to it, because I think it's an important program for this.
This is the residence program.
This is
Well, this is-
a new, they have a
Yes.
family practice. for residents.
No, I get that.
This is the surgical one where I think they're gonna grow it to, I think overall, the number was out there, was it 100, no, 200 people overall?
200
Total for
surgeons.
the-
Total overall for like
For
a
the number
10-year
of years
period.
they intended to run it, I guess, whatever.
Would,
Anyway,
would they have,
Mayo
would the hospital have a plan and some sort of certification that they can reveal to us besides just a letter to turn over 100,000?
Yes, they have, and that's what they're saying, that they have to have a certain level of training, certain level of number of teachers to have to do this.
but my
It must be
feeling,
done.
yeah, you're right. My feeling, I have two problems with this one. I don't have a real problem with it. My first problem is that I feel that this money should be used not only for the residence program, but to try to attract physicians that will stay here and not come here, work for 2 years and head off to New York City or Syracuse. And so I think I would like to see the focus on the use of this money, particularly if there's a possibility on resident physicians that are there that are locally in the general local area, grew up in the general local area, which would be more likely for them to stay here. The second thing is that the original deal we had with MBHS on this money was that they would also work with Rome Hospital, and the attraction of physicians together so that the area would have physicians that could potentially access both hospitals if necessary. And I have talked to Shauna about this, and this plan does not include Rome Hospital. It just includes the new hospital.
Have you seen the plan, Dave?
No, I mean, the discussions they're having is just for their hospital and not including discussions with Rome Hospital. Now, maybe you followed up on that?
I did, because it's a residency program run by them. I
Right.
mean, it's
I
in
understand
their
that.
hospital.
I understand that, but I would have hoped, when you talked to me about this earlier this week, I would have hoped that they would have had a discussion with the president of Rome Hospital on possibly working together on that residency program so that physicians would be at least have a chance to see that there's another hospital here that they also could have privileges in and maybe work in both hospitals. I just think we're missing the boat if we just focus this money, and that was the intent, I think, when we first made this, would be a region-wide physician recruitment.
But they did it, there's Rome, they're affiliated with, what's it?
St. Joe's.
St. Joe's. They don't have a residency program in St. Joe's, no?
No, they do for nurses, but not for doctors.
That affiliation doesn't work the way that you think it does. So Rome is wholly owned, is a wholly owned nonprofit, controlled by its own board.
Right.
There's no, they make all their own decisions. St. Joe's provides services when required, and some of those Rome pays for. There is some crossing with physicians, and they're having that discussion, but
With,
with St. Joe's.
okay.
But we're having just as much problem recruiting physicians as anybody else is.
Right.
So, especially in the area of primary care.
Right.
So I think that Rome on its own, well, I know Rome on its own does all its own physician recruitment and pays for all its own physician recruitment. St. Joe's does not pay for any of that. This past year, we've added 2 primary care physicians for the rebuilding primary care and a number of mid-levels. They're recruiting some more physicians, but it's tough. Very difficult.
It's the same conversation I had with their hospital. They're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on recruitment.
Amount.
And, you know, he can come to you and say, I need $100,000 to recruit these 3 people. And it's just dollars going specifically there. And, you know, that was one approach. The other approach was something where we're investing in a program where you see them bringing in people. And I hear what you're saying, that you want them to target residents who are going to stay. I mean, I know for a fact he retired, but my past primary doctor was in the residency program. He retired, and you know he stayed in the area.
Yeah, no, but you talk about 2 different things here, because you're talking about the residents.
Right. This is.
You want them to stay in the area.
Well, I'd like them to
this is a
consider
surgical
when they
program.
have residents.
No, but he's talking about recruiting teachers, not residents.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
He's looking to recruit the teachers to run the residency
teach the
surgery
residents.
Oh, I have
program.
a problem with that.
Okay, so I think what we'd like from MDHS is a letter specifying how much they want and explaining that it's $0 to $100,000, they can't go over that. And how that benefits not only MVHS, but Rome and these doctors could perform services countywide.
Right, like Boonville.
And then a specific what the $100,000 is gonna be used for, you know, not just out of a $6 million program, but something. Christmas party for the IDA.
I mean,
Well, Mike, that the money doesn't end up in a black hole is what my concern is.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, I think that, I agree with Mike on this. So what you're suggesting, we just table this until we get a plan?
Get a letters more specific.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And they don't have to come to talk. You know what to tell them though?
No, they don't come to
Yes.
talk.
You don't want them.
Yeah.
Right. They can send a video which we don't have to watch.
There you go.
Right.
I'm fired up today.
Okay, you got to close the LDC meeting.
The Christmas time.
No, we gotta move it to the annual meeting. We don't actually have to close it, it's the same meeting. Just an annual meeting. So we're gonna move on to the annual meeting of the LDC. So we have the minutes of the last annual meeting.
I'll move them. Second.
Moved and seconded, Mike and Steve. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, carried. Okay, we have an annual report of the corporation, Shawna.
Is that one printed?
Probably didn't print.
That's the IDA.
Can you email it
Can
to us?
you,
I'll email you the annual report and it'll be up on the
Okay.
site.
Just close the one bottom.
okay, moving on.
I don't know if it was down.
Is it in the
Is there a
end?
picture in
I
that?
gotta find it.
Is there a picture in that?
You know, there's no pictures.
Do we need color?
There's no pictures.
Meeting a week early, really.
See my name.
Okay, and they want their names in it.
We do?
No color and names. I got it, got it.
Pictures. You want pictures? No, why not? Okay, so, we've received the annual report, we will receive it afterward. And, so number 4, confirm and nominate the officers for 2023. And we're suggesting that unless there's a change in people's wishes, that the same officers and committees be continued as previously. We have a motion to do that.
You did that. That's what
I'm
Sean said.
making a motion. Okay, I made the motion.
Second.
Steve seconded it. That's good. Discussion?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, let's need a motion to ratify and confirm all the action taken by the LDC in 2022.
So moved.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Gene.
Thank you.
Nice job.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have
Nudge
any
him,
committee?
see if he's asleep, will you?
Oh, I'm looking at my iPad.
He's reading all the
Go eat your
agenda.
pickles. Wait, go finish your pickle.
All right, we have any committee reports? Having hearing none?
Same committee change.
Does the executive director have a report?
No, I don't.
Okay.
A half hour oral?
No, I
You
don't.
sure you don't wanna do
I
that?
have nothing today.
I got nothing.
Because at the end of the meeting, we're going to reopen the IDA meeting
Yes.
and have an executive committee meeting
Okay.
in order to hear something. Any new business? Any old business?
Something.
Right, we'll decide that when we make the motion.
I'll move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Ferris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, I'm gonna ask to reopen the IDA meeting. And I'll do that.
I'll move we go into executive session.
And Mike moves to go into executive discussion to discuss potential contracts and,
Litigation.
that's good enough. Second from somebody?
Second.
Second from Mary Faith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, I do this for listening to Steve, because we went
He's
here.
gotta get rid, she's gotta get rid of the people.
You're still
Kick
recording
people
and
out.
everybody is still in the meeting. You wanna,
Okay, here.
can I stay?
No, no, say I got this.
Oh.